Ancient Vedic texts refer to Pushya as a highly sacred and holy constellation. Yet, if you conduct a wedding ceremony under this specific star, it reliably triggers marital collapse. Bhagwan Ram's wedding was conducted under Pushya, and it resulted in immediate exile and lifelong separation from his wife. People frequently label this star as universally lucky. That is a dangerous misreading. Pushya does not hand out free prosperity. It operates as a massive, passive storage house for ancestral karma and family debt. Every ounce of wealth or stability it provides has to be earned through heavy obligation. This vintage circular diagram maps the complete zodiac. If you look closely at the segment representing the water sign of Cancer, you'll find Pushya sitting between 3 degrees 20 minutes and 16 degrees 40 minutes. It is the 8th nakshatra in the sequence, entirely submerged in Cancer's deeply emotional, maternal, and protective environment. Operating in that watery space makes Pushya a profound cosmic test. It places massive emotional burdens on the individual, requiring extreme patience and sacrifice before releasing any of its promised blessings. The primary symbol for Pushya is a cow's udder. In Vedic culture, the cow embodies maternal energy, passively accumulating life-giving resources. The udder produces pure nourishment and gives it freely, without demanding anything in return. You also see two secondary symbols associated with this star: a flower slowly opening its petals, and the chakra, representing the steady, relentless wheel of time. Both point to the same reality. You cannot rush the results. A seed needs constant, quiet care to bloom, and the clock ticks at its own pace. Then there is the animal archetype, the ram, a male goat surviving in rugged, vertical terrain. It meets obstacles by locking horns and pushing forward with fearless persistence. It learns from daily errors and adapts to whatever environment it is placed in. Put these symbols together, and you get a clear directive. Nourishment and wealth in Pushya are strictly reserved for those willing to endure harsh conditions with long-term discipline. This diagram illustrates the three distinct planetary forces colliding within Pushya. We have the emotional flow of the moon, the rigid boundaries of Saturn, and the expanding wisdom of Jupiter. The native lives at the exact intersection of these three opposing demands. Because Pushya lives entirely inside Cancer, the moon governs the baseline personality. This creates an individual with a highly sensitive and maternal emotional core. They feel everything deeply. That sensitivity drives an obsession with physical and financial safety. If their bank balance drops slightly, panic sets in. When they feel betrayed, they do not shout or throw punches. They retreat into absolute silence, becoming a stone wall, and completely cut off communication. This lunar influence also creates a defining, intense bond with their mother. Physically, their bodies tend to retain water and gain weight easily through emotional eating. Astrologically, consuming the Indian gooseberry or amla acts as a specific medicine to manage this retention. Externally, they project a calm, mature, smiling face. Internally, they manage a massive emotional storm, kept entirely hidden from the outside world. To navigate that internal storm, Pushya relies on its ruling deity, Lord Brihaspati, or Jupiter. For these individuals, intellectual growth is not a hobby, it is a strict requirement for survival. If they stop learning, their lives immediately stagnate. According to the Puranas, Lord Indra once ordered Brihaspati to disguise himself as Shukracharya, the guru of the demons. Brihaspati lived among his enemies for 10 years, finding structural loopholes in their system. Pushya natives carry this exact strategic brilliance, knowing how to play the long game. But that wisdom comes with intense rigidity. When Hanuman approached Brihaspati for an education, the guru looked at his outward appearance, questioned why he should teach a monkey, and refused him. Pushya natives often struggle with this fatal flaw, judging others heavily based on societal status. Pushya is where Jupiter achieves its highest exaltation. These people are built to be advisors, legal consultants, and institutional planners. They do not win through brute physical labor. They win through applied wisdom. While Jupiter guides the mind, Saturn rules the nakshatra itself. Saturn is the planet of restriction. It absolutely denies instant gratification. It takes that sensitive emotional core and locks it inside a heavy container of karmic obligation. This graph tracks the typical prosperity timeline of a Pushya native. The first 3 decades are marked by intense struggles, delays, and the paying down of ancestral debts. The true upward trajectory, the actual blossoming of their life's work, almost exclusively triggers after they reach age 32. Saturn's heavy hand also crushes romantic spontaneity. In Vedic myth, Brihaspati was so absorbed in his work that his wife, Tara, feeling emotionally neglected, ran away with the moon. Pushya natives constantly risk marital disruption because they prioritize professional duties over their personal relationships. This explains why Pushya is highly recommended for initiating long-term business investments or setting up corporations, but strictly prohibited for weddings. A marriage requires light-hearted play and passion. Pushya turns a relationship into a heavy, structural obligation. Lasting success under this star is built entirely on discipline, never on fleeting passion. To understand exactly how these duties manifest in a person's life, astrologers divide the Nakshatras into 4 equal quarters, known as padas. Each quarter carries a highly specific karmic flavor. The first pada falls in Leo. This generates intense ambition. The native must navigate early authority conflicts with their father or bosses. Once resolved, they achieve massive public recognition and assume mass leadership roles. The second pada falls in Virgo, turning the native into a detail-oriented value creator with sharp financial intelligence. The third pada falls in Libra, ruled by Venus. This creates the grand orator. Figures like Atal Bihari Vajpayee embody this placement, possessing the rare power to completely mesmerize an audience with their speech. The fourth pada falls in Scorpio. This manifests as an intense drive for secretive occult research. Because of Scorpio's placement relative to Cancer, natives in this quarter often experience significant delays regarding children and usually face severe medical complications during their own birth. Whichever quarter the planets fall in, the chart assigns the native a specific arena where they must execute their duties to society. This brings us to the final ultimatum of Pushya. If a native runs away from their responsibilities and tries to live as an emotional parasite, Saturn activates its whip. The result is structural collapse and total emotional isolation. The golden law of this nakshatra is simple: duty over rights. The native must choose to be the silent pillar, carrying the burdens and financial debts of their family lineage without complaint. When they accept that role and provide selfless service to the masses, the dynamic shifts. The universe responds by overflowing their life with unshakable generational wealth and supreme spiritual wisdom. Pushya is an astrological crucible. It applies the heat of Saturn and the weight of the moon to forge an individual capable of holding massive power, completely detached from the need for applause.